Hi, I'm Shannon Traphagen, and this is my channel, Food for Thought, where I take some of your favorite recipes from the Food Network and the Cooking Channel, and I swap out the ingredients to make them a little bit healthier for you at home. Today's episode is all about soda bread. Soda bread is a go-to for many on St. Patty's Day. It's a really popular recipe to make. However, I don't know if you knew that soda bread wasn't actually invented in Ireland. Neither was St. Patrick. Not that he was invented, but born. St. Patrick was actually born in England, and he was a slave brought over to Ireland in the 5th century. He eventually won his freedom, and he became the patron saint and a Christian missionary for the country of Ireland. Soda bread was invented, it was actually used and popularized by Ireland at a time when they had a lot of strife going on in the country. It was around the time of the potato famine, and at the time many families didn't have much to eat. Soda bread had simple ingredients, and it was very inexpensive for them to make. Basically, soda bread for them was all about sour milk, because that's what they had to use, flour to make their dough, baking soda, and a little bit of water. Sometimes, if they really wanted to get inventive or have it taste a little bit better or sweeter, they would add butter. But that was it. That was the basics of their ingredients. They didn't add much more than that. If they had a little bit more money, some of them did use wheat flour, but for the most part, it was white flour. Now, in today's economy, in today's world, soda bread has evolved and become a multitude of different things. A lot of people put currants, caraway seeds, or even golden raisins in their soda bread. Doesn't really make it soda bread. That turns it into more of a tea bread, something you'd find in Ireland or England, but all of a sudden, it's no longer the traditional soda bread. But at the basics, soda bread usually has buttermilk, flour, butter, salt and pepper, and for many they use caraway seeds or golden raisins, and milk, buttermilk. I'm using, instead of buttermilk, I'm going to be using Lactaid. Now for me, I'm lactose intolerant, so I need to use Lactaid. You can use evaporated milk, you can use 1%, you can use fat-free. Evaporated milk is lower in cholesterol, higher in minerals, and it's a heart-healthy way to use milk or dairy or cream of some kind. It's also a little thicker, so it'll give you more of that creamy texture that you're looking for. For me, Lactaid milk is fine. I don't mind using it in this recipe. However, I will be using 1% instead of the fat-free. That's usually my go-to because it is, again, a little bit thicker, makes it a little bit creamier. The other ingredient I'm going to be swapping out is, instead of the white flour, which if any of you know, not a fan of white flour, it's refined, it's processed, it is not good for you. It strips all of the antioxidants and all of the grain that you would find in the flour and how it's made. It strips all of that out. I'm going to go with wheat flour because that's my go-to, and I love soda bread with wheat flour. It gives it a nuttier, rich flavor. I like the grain texture in it. So this is what I'll be using instead of the white flour. Now I'm going for traditional soda bread, so I'm not going to be using raisins or currants or anything else, but feel free to if you want. The other ingredient is baking soda. Now baking soda, baking powder should always be aluminum free. When I'm using baking powder, I always use Rumford, and I always make sure it says aluminum free on it. Aluminum has been linked to many diseases and illnesses. It's not good for you to use. Baking soda, baking powder are leavening agents. That's why it was used in soda bread. It was a leavening agent that softened and lightened the bread. So, hence the name soda bread. Baking soda was one of their prime ingredients. I like using Arm & Hammer. It doesn't say aluminum free, but I've done my research and I can tell you that the Arm & Hammer is aluminum free. This I used to see in my parents' refrigerator all the time, and it was used to kind of keep the refrigerator fresh and clean. I never knew when I was a kid that you'd actually use this to put in food, but you do. And so this is what we're going to be using. This is what I'm actually putting into my soda bread. It's used all the time for baking. I'm also using Celtic sea salt because, well, it's St. Patty's Day weekend, so a nod to my Irish roots. But Celtic sea salt also has a high mineral concentration in it. You can tell from the gray in the salt, and it's got this really nice texture to it. They're kind of more of a rock salt, so you'll taste it a little bit in the bread when the bread comes out. So those are the ingredients I'm going to be using in my soda bread. Super easy to make, very, very simple to do, and it doesn't take long at all. You're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda as we start the soda bread. Now you add 4 cups of your wheat flour to your dry ingredients. And the recipe calls for sugar. I replace that with 2 tablespoons of honey. Now whisk your dry ingredients with your honey together lightly. Now you're going to take your butter and melt it. I use 3 tablespoons instead of 4, so I cut it in half a little bit and add this to your dry ingredients. Whisk your eggs together. You can use 1 egg and 1 egg white, or 2 egg whites if you prefer. Now add your milk to your eggs. These are your wet ingredients. Now take your dry ingredients and you're going to make a well in the center. Build a wall high and tight on each side. You want the well in the middle to be deep. Take your wet ingredients and mix it into your dry ingredients. Now you're going to fold the ingredients together gently so that they start to combine. Take a pinch of Celtic sea salt and add it to your mixture. And start mixing it together until it's very sticky. You're going to add flour to your work surface so that you can start kneading your dough. It should be tacky but not sticky or wet. I do also have a recipe for those of you who are gluten-free. Now I won't be baking it today, but it will be on my website at www.smtraphagen.com under Healthy Recipes. You can find it there, and again, I'll have all the recipes and the ingredients listed, and I'll stamp it out for you on how to make it. Again, that's for the gluten-free recipe. This is for a wonderful tradition. Soda bread is a great way to celebrate any type of holiday. It doesn't even have to be St. Patty's Day. The Irish make soda bread all year long. So if you happen to catch this episode and it's after St. Patrick's Day, feel free to make this summer. Feel free to make it in the fall or even at Christmas time. And when you go to score your bread, just as a last minute FYI, the way they did it, legend and lore had it back in the day, that they scored the bread as a Christian blessing in order to bless the bread before they put it in the oven. But, as the Irish always do, they killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only did they bless the bread by scoring it, but when it got done baking, it was that much easier to break off into their 4 sections and eat right away. So, they had a double purpose and a double meaning. But a day and an age where they had so many hardships and so many things going on, they were able to find a way to get back to basics. They used simple ingredients to make something to feed their family. And with everything going on in today's marketplace, in today's political era, there's so much tension and so much strife. And we hear a lot of harsh words, and we're dealing with a lot of things in our economy that we haven't dealt with before. And I find this a nice way to just get back to basics. So I hope you find this fun and easy to make and enjoy. You can find more of these tips on my website at www.smtraphagen.com. Please come back and visit my channel anytime. Feel free to subscribe or like my channel, and please feel free to share it with others. Until next time, thank you so much for joining me on Food for Thought.